I'm Christopher Lara with The Digital, joined by Keri, our Vice President of Operations, Melissa, our Lead Project Manager, and Garrett, a Project Manager here at The Digital. Today we're going to go over monitoring and improving your website performance. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thanks, Christopher.
Good being here.
So, how do we monitor website performance? What are some of the ways we do that?
So we monitor. So some of the primary tools that we use to monitor, page speed performance is really using Google's Lighthouse speed test and optimization. I do know Pingdom has a tool as well that we like to use, and W3 out there has one as well. But Lighthouse is probably the standard in today's industry. So we tend to run on two different reports. One that doesn't use a network performance, so something that's considered offline, which is your true value of speed, and then you have one where it would be running off if you had if you're running off at like a data plan. So each of those performance scores help us evaluate, what we can do better, so that when we're running on a mobile or a desktop, it can run to the best of its ability for the site, or we can always just try to improve and make things better. Really off of those elements that are given to us. So that being said, a lot of the things that we see in Google Page Speed reports is optimizing your images, image size, image format, trying to reduce render blocking, which a lot of that is sort of behind the scenes with JavaScript code. So in the world of WordPress, there's a lot of plugins that we can use to help improve those elements. W3 Total Cache is a pretty popular caching plugin that we can use to help cache pages, which really what caching pages is basically it's taking kind of a snapshot of the data that the content that you're looking at, and sort of saves it in your browser. So the next time that you come and revisit, it doesn't have to completely reload the page. It's kind of saved there to be looked at again. Content delivery network is another thing to improve site speed. So instead of an example here, if your user is in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you don't want to connect with a server in San Diego, California, it's going to take a little bit longer to have to ping all the way over there, deliver the content. So by using a CDN, it helps you use a server that's closest to your user's location, which will help load content even faster. Smush It, that's another image plugin that helps decrease image size and can help deliver image formatting. So Keri, did you have something to say?
Yeah, the Smush It. And there's another one too. What's the other one?
Short Pixel.
Short Pixel. Yeah, so when it's a paid plan, and it offloads your images to their server, optimizes them, and sends it back. And so, it helps make the images smaller, and then also it's served over their CDN. So same, it will deliver it closer to your geographical location. Also, I wanted to speak on the plugins, some speed plugins that we like. Auto Optimize and WP Rocket we use quite often. And then also just keeping your site clean, and not, if this is a WordPress site, not having 30 plugins on the site. So you really only install the plugins that you actually need, because and if it's like a plugin to be able to add one line of code somewhere, it'd be better just to have a developer add that line of code than installing yet another plugin. Because plugins are code, like little mini programs that live on your server. Whether you're using them or not, there's still code sitting on your server, so they can be hacked even if they're not active. And if you have, I've seen sites that have 3 speed plugins and 2 form plugins and 2 newsletter plugins. Like, just have one of each thing that you absolutely need, because those plugins can conflict with each other, because they have, like, the speed plugins all have similar code that can conflict with each other. So anyway, just to have just the minimal amount of plugins that you actually need to keep your site fast and safe. Garrett's touched on the CDN, the image optimizing, caching. Um, cutting down on revisions in WordPress so that you're not storing 50 versions of a page in your database. So, you might want to keep 3 or 5 of the last revisions in case you need to recover something on a page. But you don't want to save all of them because then your database gets big and bulky, and that can slow down your site also.
And yeah,
Yeah,
a
so
couple of those optimization plugins can help, give you the ability to clean out those revisions too. So
Yeah, the database
it's a
cleanup.
handy tool inside there.
So to summarize, we want to be using Lighthouse and similar tools to kind of get a sense of the website performance. We want to make sure to not have too many useless plugins or plugins that conflict with themselves. We want to be thinking about caching, image optimization, keeping a clean database.
A good host.
Anything else you might?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, what was that?
good hosting, a good server. So you can have, the cleanest, most optimized website on a bad overloaded shared server and still get poor performance. So having a good reputable host that doesn't overload their servers is also helpful.
Anything you'd add to that, Melissa?
No, yeah, I was thinking exactly, what Keri said with having a good host. I see that quite often with businesses saying my site is so clean and fast, my images are optimized, and it all comes down to your hosting. And then the image optimizing, my area of expertise is more front end and user experience. So it's really about getting the right images in there, getting them to be the right size. Because if you are loading these gigantic, huge images, that's just going to bog your site down. And people, if your site doesn't come up pretty much immediately, especially with like a commerce site, those people are they're gonna leave right away. So that's stresses the importance of all of that.
That's a great point, Melissa. That even if you have an image optimization plugin on your site and you pay for that service, you still don't want to load a 10 megabyte photo because even if they cut it in half, oh, it's 50% optimized. It's still a 5 meg photo. So you want to try to load photos that are 100K or less. If you were to upload a 500K photo because it needs to be really a big nice photo in the hero, well then your image optimizing plugin might be able to drop it down, to 100K for you. But that's a good point, like putting the right size photos on the site in the first place and not just depending on your image plugin.
I think another important thing is if you're a business, getting an audit by a professional company might be worthwhile because you might not have excessive plugins. You might be on a great server, but you might have things like code bloat without realizing it. You might have Google Maps installed on your website and are making calls to the Google Maps API on pages where Google Maps aren't even showing. So getting a professional to really dig in there can help identify a lot of wins, especially when it comes to code bloat, which is something that we see all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and if you think your site is slow, but you're on a great server and you don't have a lot of plugins, sometimes usually boils down to code bloat in the theme itself. So you have a lot of code that's in the theme that's just not being used, but still runs in the background.
Yeah. And errors, JavaScript errors, API errors, like if it's trying to ping Google Maps and you don't have your key, it's going to repeatedly try to find that key. Anything running in the background is going to slow your site. And you can see that in the console and in the server logs. You might have, we just saw a site today with a reCAPTCHA error on it, easy fix, but if you're not looking for it, you may not realize that that's why your site is slow.
Yeah, also, if you don't know what to look for, I've seen websites kind of get themselves into trouble when they try to modify HTML files, CSS, or JavaScript, and then, break certain calls and not even realize it because they're not looking to your point, they're not looking for it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Keri and Melissa and Garrett, for joining me and sharing some of the thoughts on monitoring and improving your website performance. I think you all hit on some really helpful advice. For anyone looking to work with an award-winning web design and marketing company, visit thedigital.com to view our portfolio and speak to one of our solution consultants about your project. Bye.
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 See?